After nearly 5 years, the FBI nabs a suspect linked to the J6 pipe bombs near both the RNC and DNC headquarters.
He is arrested for transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce, as well as the attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials.
I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley. It's Friday, December 5th. This is Morning Wire. President Trump scores another major foreign policy win, ending more than a decade of conflict between Rwanda and the Congo.
We discussed the importance of upholding this new agreement. Very detailed, powerful agreement.
And the border fight goes digital. As the left rolls out claims and viral stories, DHS hits back with receipts.
They're willing to do the bidding of these gang members, these vicious gangs, but they're not willing to share the stories of the victims of these gangs.
Thanks for waking up with Morning Wire. Stay tuned. We have the news you need to know.
This episode is sponsored by NetSuite. Every business is asking the same question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are endless and guessing is risky, but sitting on the sidelines isn't an option because your competitors are already making their move. With NetSuite by Oracle, you can put AI to work today. NetSuite stands as the #1 AI cloud ERP, earning the trust of more than 43,000 businesses worldwide by delivering what modern companies need most: a unified platform that brings together financials, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM into a single source of truth. This connected data foundation sets NetSuite's AI apart. Instead of making educated guesses, it actually knows your business. Unlike bolt-on tools that sit awkwardly alongside your existing systems, NetSuite's AI is built directly into the platform that runs your business, creating a seamless experience that scales with you. Right now, get our free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/morningwire. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/morningwire. netsuite.com/morningwire.
The FBI has arrested a suspect in the January 5th, 2021 pipe bomb incident. The arrest comes after 5 years of investigations into who planted 2 explosive devices outside the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic parties. Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce is here to talk about what we know after this major development in the case. Hey, Tim. So this has been 5 years in the making. First, what led to this big breakthrough?
Well, according to the Department of Justice, it was the election of President Trump. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel hammered that point in a press conference on the arrest yesterday. Here's Bondi.
The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months, sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team.
The pipe bomber seemed pretty inconspicuous. The best images we had of him showed a person in a hoodie, gloves, and a mask that in itself wasn't that remarkable because of the pandemic going on. And then after the bombs were planted, it was another 15 hours before they were found. Vice President Kamala Harris was actually in the DNC headquarters when that one was found. Yesterday, officials gave a lot of credit to FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino for chasing this down. Even before he was picked to help lead the FBI, Bongino was closely following this case. Here's Bongino explaining why.
You're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away.
So the suspect has been identified as Brian Cole Jr. of Woodbridge, Virginia. That's about 20 miles from D.C. What else have we learned about him?
Yeah, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro said Cole will be charged with transporting an explosive device and attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. Officials were hesitant to give more specifics on that, nor many other aspects of the investigation. At the time of the press conference, the search on Cole's house hadn't even wrapped up yet. But charging documents released on Thursday gave a few more details. Law enforcement looked into Cole's use of credit cards and saw he bought components consistent with the materials needed to make pipe bombs between 2018 and 2020. They also looked at Cole's cell phone data, which showed him in the area of the RNC and the DNC headquarters on January 5th. They also caught Cole's car, a 2017 Nissan Sentra, on a license plate reader about half a mile from where the bombs were placed. Now, our own Luke Rosiak found out more about the alleged pipe bomber, and what he found was quite stunning, and it really cuts against a lot of narratives going on. Here's Rosiak.
The Daily Wire can report that Brian Cole Jr., who was arrested on Thursday and charged with planting the pipe bombs outside of the DNC and RNC, worked for his father, who owned a bail bonds company focused on getting illegal immigrants out of jail, in which had actually sued the Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security over immigration issues. The company took those lawsuits all the way to the D.C. Court of Appeals, which ruled against it in November 2020. Just weeks later, Cole Jr. allegedly planted those pipe bombs. Later in that same year of 2021, his father held a press conference alongside Benjamin Crump, the left-wing attorney who represented Trayvon Martin, lamenting anti-black racism. His father called on the Biden DOJ to go after a local prosecutor who had raised concerns about the bail bond business, claiming that was discrimination. A Tennessee court later affirmed that the company had been rightly sanctioned because it broke rules. Now, they caught this guy using cell phone data as well as credit card data, license plate reader, and other things. His cell phone data was among those that were pinging the towers near the DNC and RNC the night of January 5th, which does raise some questions about why the FBI didn't catch this guy sooner.
Once again, great reporting there from Luke and from you, Tim. Thanks so much for coming on. Lots of questions now to be answered.
Thanks for having me.
This episode is sponsored by Zocdoc. You know that nagging feeling about the doctor's appointment you've been putting off forever? Maybe it's that dentist cleaning you're now 6 months overdue for, or the annual checkup that somehow turned into a 3-year gap, or finally getting that weird rash looked at by a dermatologist. Whatever it is, today might actually be the day to stop procrastinating. With Zocdoc, you can find and book the right doctor entirely online, and honestly, you'll probably have an appointment scheduled before the end of this ad. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. They've got over 100,000 doctors across every specialty you could think of: mental health, dental, primary care, urgent care, you name it. Once you find someone who looks like a good fit, you can see their actual availability slots and book instantly, no more phone tag. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/wire to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/wire. ZocDoc.com/wire today.
President Trump hosted African leaders Thursday for the signing of yet another peace deal as military leaders testified before Congress regarding recent airstrikes on drug boats in the Caribbean. Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips has the latest from another packed day in Washington. Hey, Cabot. So let's start with this big peace deal in Africa. What unfolded there?
Yeah, Donald Trump has not been shy that he wants a Nobel Peace Prize and says he deserves one. And now he has added yet another feather to his foreign policy cap. Trump played host to leaders from Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, two countries who have engaged in a bloody conflict for more than a decade now. But on Thursday, after negotiations brokered by Trump, the two countries signed on to what they're calling the Washington Accords, which will create, as they called it, a, quote, permanent ceasefire. Under the agreement, Rwanda will remove all of their troops from Congolese territory, and both sides will cut off all support to militia groups who have been operating there. Trump also invited leaders from other African countries like Uganda, Kenya, Angola, Burundi, and others more to witness the ceremony. Here's some of what we heard from the presidents of Rwanda and Congo specifically.
The biggest vote of thanks goes to President Donald Trump. No one was asking President Trump to take up this task. Our region is far from the headlines. But when the president saw the opportunity to contribute to peace, he immediately took it.
I would like to express quite solemnly our deep thanks to the President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump. I would like to thank his administration and also wish to thank the American people.
And look, while President Trump is certainly motivated by his desire to bring peace, something he calls his favorite part of the job, there are also economic incentives at play here as well. Despite being among the poorest countries on Earth, both Congo and Rwanda are home to enormous rare earth mineral deposits. Congo in particular is actually the world's largest producer of cobalt and second largest producer of copper. So Trump helped move the deal along, basically by telling them, if you stop the fighting, we'll send a lot of business your way. Here he is speaking to new economic partnerships that were signed as part of this agreement.
We'll be involved with sending some of our biggest and greatest companies over to the two countries and we're going to take out some of the rare earth and take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
And it is worth noting, this conflict includes a number of violent militia groups, and there are some questions over whether those groups are going to abide by this deal, but it's certainly noteworthy that the governments themselves have agreed to a ceasefire.
Yeah, indeed. Let's move over to the Hill, where top military officials appeared before Congress. A lot of eyes on this. What did they have to say?
Yeah, Congress is moving full speed ahead on their investigation of the airstrikes against alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. On Thursday, they heard closed-door testimony from, among others, Admiral Frank Bradley. He's the one who oversaw the operation in question and reportedly claimed that he was given no orders to kill survivors by Pete Hegseth. That contradicts the now infamous Washington Post report. Members were also shown footage of the attack in question. Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican, said it proved that there were two survivors who, in his words, were, quote, trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs bound for the U.S. back over so they could stay in the fight. Democrat members, as you can expect, though, had a very different take. Connecticut Rep. Jim Himes, for example, said it showed, quote, the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. For his part, President Trump said that he would support making that footage public. So seemingly he's confident the American people will have no issue with the military killing narco-terrorists.
Cabot, thanks so much for reporting.
Absolutely.
As the Trump administration ramps up its immigration crackdown following the attack in D.C. by a foreign national, it's also fighting a PR battle against the Democrats and legacy media outlets. Daily Wire senior editor Virginia Kruta joins us now with more on this narrative battle. Hey, Virginia. So we've seen a steady stream of media stories promoted by Democrats in the last few weeks, and then the Trump administration has been fact-checking them in real time. You've been documenting this back and forth. How active a battle is this?
It's a full-scale war. Kilmer Abrego Garcia was just the tip of the iceberg. Since the large-scale deportations began, Democrats and media personalities have glommed onto the stories of any illegal aliens that tug at the heartstrings. Whether or not the story is true does not appear to figure into their calculus. In fact, a recent example is CBS News anchor Margaret Brennan. She claimed that nearly half, or 48%, of the illegal aliens currently being detained by ICE are being held without any charges or deportation orders. But DHS told a very different story. They fact-checked the claim and said it was simply wrong, and that about 70% of illegal aliens arrested have pending criminal charges or criminal convictions. They then pressed the outlet asking, does CBS really want us to release accused murderers and rapists back on the streets?
As we said at the top, Democrat lawmakers have been really hammering this topic. What are we hearing from them?
Well, they're painting the administration as reckless and tyrannical, which is to be expected. A recent example is Senator Jeff Merkley, who actually referred to federal agents as kidnappers and parroted a story about a teen taken into custody at school. But DHS pushed back on him as well, saying that he was missing the facts. This 17-year-old used his vehicle to violently attack ICE and Border Patrol agents, the agency posted. They included a timeline of events that identified the teen as an American citizen, but also identified him as a suspect who had allegedly attacked and impeded federal law enforcement officers. Another Democrat senator, Chris Van Hollen, he recently responded to the news that a nail salon owner in his state was set to be deported to Vietnam. He said, Melissa Tran came here on a green card at age 11. She's since raised 4 kids, started a business, and is a beloved member of the Hagerstown community, he insisted. But as DHS noted, Van Hollen was omitting some pesky facts. The nail salon owner in question had criminal convictions, including grand larceny, multiple counts of forgery, and fraud. In fact, an immigration judge had issued her a final order of removal in 2004. ICE arrested her in May.
All right, so those were Democrat senators making those claims. We've also heard from a lot of governors. Gavin Newsom, Tim Walz come to mind. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They've been very vocal.
Now, most of these allegations were made by citing dubious reports from legacy outlets. Which outlets seem to crop up the most?
Oh, I bet you could guess. The New York Times, CNN, the Associated Press. I do have this recent example for you. The New Yorker profiled a Jamaican immigrant thusly. Orville Etoria, a Jamaican national who'd lived in New York for nearly 50 years, was shackled and put on an ICE flight to Eswatini. It helped me imagine how the slaves might have felt going to another land in shackles and chains, he said. It was Fox News correspondent Bill Malugin who debunked that one. He's a convicted murderer with a deportation order from a federal immigration judge.
So a convicted murderer seems pretty hard to make the case for him. Virginia, thanks so much for reporting.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thanks for waking up with us. And if you're listening to the show, you can now watch the show free on Daily Wire Plus. We'll be back this evening with more news you need to know.